Hello everyone, and welcome to the session on adding advertising to your game with Microsoft Advertising. My name is Dave Bost, and I'm a technical evangelist with Microsoft. And if you need to reach me for any particular questions that you may have, you can reach me through Twitter at Dave Bost, or you can reach me through my blog at davebost.com. So let's get started, shall we? Adding advertising to your games is very simple utilizing a service such as Microsoft Advertising. There are various services out there that you can implement advertising into your games, into your apps on top of the Windows platform. But we're going to focus here specifically on Microsoft Advertising. So the way Microsoft Advertising works, it's kind of your typical advertising service where for advertisers there's a cost per impressions model. So an advertiser is going to pay for the number of impressions. An impression means basically an ad that is displayed to some sort of end customer. There's amounts that are paid based on the impressions, and there's amounts that are paid based on if they actually click on an ad, which would then take them to sort of a landing page for some sort of advertising or some sort of product placement or something that the advertiser would like to send people to. In the model for Microsoft Advertising, the advertisers would pay Microsoft Advertising a fee to display ads, and that fee is then split up between us as publishers, so us as a game developer or game publisher. We will actually display the ads within our games. We would then receive a 70% split on that payout. Microsoft, being the service provider, would then get a 30% split. To add advertising to Microsoft Advertising to your games on top of Windows 8 is very, very easy. We're actually going to walk through the steps on how we go about doing that. One important note to make, though, is that ads are only actually served up to apps or games that are targeted toward 12 years old or older. Individual. So then the actual submission process, when you submit your game into the Windows Store, you want to make sure that you specify that your game is targeted for end customers that are 12 years old or older, and that way your ad models will work, and you'll actually be able to receive revenue through advertising. So if we look at kind of what are some of the opportunities for ads that are served up within our games. The screenshots here are actually here just to kind of show sort of typical advertising sizes. So what we do is we specify the kinds of ads that we want to show, and there's kind of a catalog of different sort of common advertising sizes, or image sizes or text sizes that you can then implement within your game. These are sort of the standard sizes that are offered up and available to you. And what we do is we actually go into with a service called Pub Center. We actually go there and specify what type of ads that we want to show and what sizes of those ads we would like to show and implement within our games. So these are some of the common sizes, so 250 by 250 to 500 by 130, 292 by 60, and an additional ad size at 728 by 90. And once again, it's up to you to kind of pick what size fits within what portion of your application. So some users will actually show ads within the actual starting screen, or the splash screen, if you will. Some game developers will actually have ads kind of tucked away maybe in the corner of their game, or they actually implement it some sort of way into the game. Like maybe if you have like a little billboard kind of frame that you want to display an ad, maybe that kind of actually integrate it directly into the game, which actually kind of look kind of nice, versus kind of an ad just sort of looks like it's slapped on a particular screen. But the idea and sort of what you want to really focus on here is that for you to earn sort of more revenue, the longer an ad is shown, the more money you're going to make, or the more impressions that you're going to generate, and that leads into more revenue that you're going to be making as part of that as well. So you want to make sure that you're really sort of think about where you want to display the ads, and really what you want to do is you want to make sure that the ads do not get in the way of gameplay. They're not sort of intrusive to users, but they're sort of provide a nice integration within your game, but at the same time in sort of a way that's going to drive sort of those ad impressions and drive potential click-throughs as well. So keep all that in mind of how you go about making extra revenue with your games with advertising. And really the place to go to learn more information about Microsoft Advertising is actually this site called adsandapps.microsoft.com. There's plenty of information there as far as how Microsoft Advertising works, some tips and tricks and best practices on how you can implement some of your ads within your games, within your apps, on both Windows 8 and Windows Phone. Okay. So you heard me kind of talk about what is Pub Center, right? So when we talk about Pub Center is the service that you're going to log into to basically manage set up and maintain your ads for your applications. It's very easy to set up. You can get set up with Pub Center within less than 5 minutes. Okay, and we're actually going to walk through that step about how we go about doing that. So Pub Center is the control panel for your app's monetization. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to set up what's called a developer account. So to do that, what we need is actually a Microsoft ID. So hopefully everybody already has a Microsoft ID, and you'll definitely have one if you already registered as a registered developer for the Windows 8 store. So we can use that same ID. You can also set up your payment information, currency, and tax info. So once we start earning our revenue, how can then Microsoft pay out that revenue that you've earned through your advertising? Then we're going to talk about setting up your advertising itself. So how do you go about doing that? It's literally 2 steps, and you're ready to go. And then also we have publisher reporting. So the different kinds of reports of how what you're earning as part of your advertising implementation within your games. So different graphs and charts and various other things to basically track how well your advertising is working. So with that, let's actually roll right into a demo here. And if I move over to my Pub Center, open up a browser and just go to pubcenter.microsoft.com, and this brings up kind of our logon screen. So the idea here being is that you can either log in if you already have a Pub Center account, but what is highly recommended is just go ahead and log in with your Microsoft account by saying sign in with your Microsoft account here. So we'll go ahead and sign into our account. And I will log in with my Microsoft account ID. And this should take us directly into our Pub Center dashboard. Right now, this account has no advertising, so don't get scared away by I haven't earned any money this month or earned any earnings today. This is a brand new account that I set up for this demo, and so this is kind of when you first log in, you're going to actually see some of your performance data. You're going to get access to the different charts and graphs, your account performance, ad unit performances, and we'll talk about what ad units are in a second here. But basically, getting access to all kinds of information to see how well your ads are earning. And what's great about the ads is this is a back-end service. So once we set up our ads within our app, we can actually come back to the service and then modify the kinds of ads that are displayed, and we'll talk about that here as well. So the very first thing to do to set up is that once we all get logged in, we set up our payment information. We have done that prior. Go ahead and click on Setup. We're going to go right into Setup, and we're going to create, first of all, we're going to create what's called an application. Okay, an application is basically like a container of this is my application that I'm going to be hosting these ads in. Okay, then what we need to do is we need to set up what are called ad units. Ad units are the kinds of ads that I want to display within my application. So in this case, you can see I already have one application that's created, but let me go ahead and actually create another application just so you can see what that step looks like. Right here, we actually are presented with just a very simple screen. Give it a name. So we'll call this, let's call it something a little bit different than Game Maker. We'll call it My Fantastic Game. And really, this is just a name for you to be able to track how these ads are performing. It doesn't have to match your particular game title. It probably helps if it does, but you can really just give it any name that you want. And for device type, Microsoft Advertising supports Windows Phone. It says Windows Phone 7, but it's Windows Phone 7, Windows Phone 8, doesn't matter, as well as Windows 8. And the reason you're picking the device type is because it's the different kinds of ads, as well as the different kind of ad inventory that's available to you. So in this case, we're actually going to create a Windows 8 game. So I'll go ahead and select Windows 8, and that's the kind of device that I want this application to be on. Okay, so we'll go ahead and click Save. And now we actually have what's called this application ID. Okay. Now what we want to do is we actually want to create ad units as associated with this particular application. Let's go ahead and click on Add Units. And this is going to show me all the different kinds of ad units that I have predefined for both my mobile applications as well as Windows 8 applications. So what I want to do is actually define an ad unit for my mobile application. So let's go ahead and create an application ad unit. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're actually going to select the kind of ads that I want to display. So in this case, if I wanted to display a 728 by 90, you can see sort of what proportion of the size of that ad looks like. It's a pretty big ad, but we can actually see the different types of sizes that are offered up to us, right? These are different kinds of ads that we want to display. Now, so we want to have like sort of an ad taking up the entire alley on the right-hand side, or we want something a little bit smaller. Once again, pick something that's not very intrusive to our users' experience within our game, something that's going to fit with your layout and everything else. Let's go ahead and pick an ad in this size, 292 by 60, and we'll give this, we'll call it my ad at 292 by 60. That gives me an idea of like how big the ad is for me. So once again, ad unit name doesn't really make a bit of difference. It's really for you to sort of maintain and understand how well that ad's performing within the reports. That's what the name is for. And then here we select the application that we want to associate this with. Right now I have two applications that are defined. We just defined a game, an application called My Fantastic Game, so we'll associate this ad unit with that particular game. Now here's where sort of the magic happens with advertising. Okay, now there's different categories that ads are available to you, and then we have within categories we also have subcategories. Of course, I picked one that didn't have any subcategories. But if we pick something like games and we want to drill into even sort of action games, adventure games, arcade, and card, to drill down to specific kinds of advertising, then we can. Those are the kinds of ads that will then show through this particular ad unit ID. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to our game. We're going to set up our advertising by specifying here's my application ID, here's my ad unit ID, and then every time that code gets run within our game, it's actually going to go back to the Pub Center, Microsoft Pub Center, and say here's an application ID, here's an ad unit ID, what kind of ads do you have available for me? And for me as the ad publisher, what I want to do is select these are the kinds of ads I want to show. Okay, just a little helpful trick. If you look down here at the bottom, there's a link called Forum. Forum is actually a great place to have a sort of an online conversation with other people that are using Microsoft advertising to learn some sort of best practices, tips and tricks, and really sort of have a conversation about what's the best way to use some of these ads. The ads, the way the ads work is there's an inventory, and based upon where the inventory is and kind of what different payouts the different items within the inventories are going to have, you might get some sort of good information and good tips and tricks from other people using advertising by logging onto the forum. So definitely check that out. So in this case, let's set up our ad unit. We're going to select games. Okay, so that's our selected category, and we're just going to click save. And that's it. So we basically have an application and an ad unit. The details here. So these two numbers for an application ID and an ad unit ID are very important to us. We're going to come back to that in a second. But before we do, let me go ahead and just copy this application ID because we're going to be entering that. And it'll just make it easier for us here. So if we swap over to our game, so we're going to basically add some advertising to this game that Daniel created for us. It's a nice little platformer game. And so what we have is our different rooms. In this case, we have a start splash screen. So maybe I want to throw an ad on here. But once again, the ads sort of can be displayed quickly until somebody kind of clicks on something. This actually might be a good place to put an ad because this screen will not go away until they actually tap on the screen or something. So maybe I want to drop an ad on here, or maybe in this case what I want to do is actually drop an ad on actually my play service, because what's nice about this particular game is I can actually there's nothing really going on in the top upper right hand corner, so we're going to go ahead and drop an ad up there. So to do that, the first thing we need to do is actually go into our global game settings. And within our global game settings, we're going to scroll all the way over to the tab called Advertising. And in Advertising, because this is a game that's going to be targeted for Windows 8, we're going to click on the Windows 8 tab and make sure MS Advertising is selected. It's the only one that's available today, but that might change in the future. Make sure Enable Advertising is checked. And then here's where we enter our ad ID, or our application ID. So as we copied our application ID over from Pub Center, we'll just go ahead and paste that in here. So that's our application ID. So then when we select our ad unit ID, which is this 132301, we'll copy that and then paste that into the ad unit ID. And the way advertising is set up within GameMaker is that actually I can specify multiple IDs or ad unit IDs. So maybe, just thinking out loud here, I'd actually want to, if I want to display an additional ad, say on the splash screen and maybe a different size, then I'd create an additional ad unit ID at that 728 by 90 ad size and then place that on the splash screen. And then I would paste that ad unit ID into the next slot available within my list here. Now be sure that once you enter your ad unit ID that you actually select over here the actual size of the ad that it is. Okay, so in this case my ad was, oh gosh, I can't remember now, 292 by 60. So let's go ahead and select it that we have our ad size that's 292 by 60, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Okay, So just to reiterate before I click OK, we specified our application ID, we specified our ad unit ID, we selected the kind of ad that it is, so GameMaker knows how to draw it to the screen, and we'll go ahead and click OK. Now to actually add the code to display my ad is very simple. It's a one line of code. Okay, so in this case, I'm actually going to go into the creation code for my room. So when my room is actually created, instantiated if you will, it's going to run this bit of code. So the code to enable the ad or turn on the ad is the ads enable function. Okay, so ads enable. Let me just double check to make sure that's what it is. It is. It's ads enabled. As you can see, we're going to specify an X coordinate, a Y coordinate, and then a number. The number associates to sort of where that ad unit is in the list. Okay, so let me go ahead and input that, and I'll come back and I'll tell you what specifically what I mean there. So click on ads enable. So as an X coordinate, so we want to go basically the top right corner. Let's go ahead and make this. Let's try 950, and then maybe 10 pixels off the top of the screen, and then specify 0. 0 is kind of like is the number of that ad unit ID within that list. So let's go ahead and save that by clicking on the checkbox. Go back to global game settings so I can point this out for you. Go back to advertising. And then see where it says ID 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are the numbers that we're going to identify within our ads enable function. So I specify in my ads enable function that I want the 0 ad, right, and within that list, and that should pull that ad unit ID. And remember that ad unit ID came from our Microsoft Pub Center, and the category that we selected was games. Okay, meaning that the kinds of ads that should display are game related. So if we go ahead and run this, and we can just test this, let's make sure that I'm specified Windows 8, native or Windows 8 JavaScript, doesn't matter. And let's go ahead and run this to test it. We'll compile our game up, and once our game compiles, let's go ahead and make sure it's compiling here. There's our splash screen. We tap or click to play. Then we're brought into our platformer, and as you can see, the ad was then basically gone out and requested from Pub Center and displayed with our game here. So now I'm making money. Isn't that easy, right? So we went out to Pub Center, we created an application ID, we created an ad unit, selected the kind of categories and the size of ads that we want to display. We came back to GameMaker, specified those application IDs and ad unit IDs, the size, and then called the ads enable function within our creation code for our screen. And lo and behold, we are now generating revenue within our game with Microsoft Advertising. Very, very simple. Okay, so that gives you a nice little demo of how to easily integrate ads into your game with both Microsoft Advertising and GameMaker. So just to reiterate, Pub Center, this is the site to maintain your revenue opportunities with Microsoft Advertising. It contains various different reports on how well your ads are doing. And once again, you can go back into Pub Center, maintain the application ID and ad unit ID, right? Don't change those because those are within your game, and that game is going to get packaged up and deployed to all your end users. But you can come back and then modify the categories and the kinds of ads that you want to display, right? You won't be changing the size, maintain the size, because now you have code in there, and now you know where that ad should display within your game. But you can come back and modify the types of categories, and maybe you want to change it every so often, because over time, some categories may pay better than other categories, and this is something you'll just have to work with, and once again, go to the forums and have conversations with other users to kind of learn some tips and tricks and some best practices on what categories are sort of paying out, fairly well at that point in time. But that's what's great about the service is you can always go back and maintain that and really kind of generate some extra revenue for you. So here's some tips and tricks for you right off the bat, some do's and don'ts. So do design the ads into your layout experience, right? Maybe don't get in the way of sort of the implementation of your ad. Of your app or your game, right? So maybe tuck it off in the corner, or put it in a place that's not in the way of gameplay. Take advantage of some of the design elements, some of the different ad sizes that we have available for you, and plan for times when no ad is available. So maybe there are cases where this is actually implemented fairly easily for you within GameMaker. And the way I believe it works is that if there may be times where you pick maybe a very an uncommon category, if you will, or maybe that particular category doesn't have any particular ads available in inventory at that point in time, so no ad will display. And I believe the way GameMaker works is that it just won't display the ad, right? So it does some checking on its behalf to make sure ads are available, and when it does, then it will actually paint it to the surface of the screen. If not, then nothing gets painted, so nothing lost on that end. So don't bolt ads all over the place and take up the entire real estate of your app, right? So don't get crazy here. Just display kind of one ad, kind of off to the side or sort of out of the way. And just make sure that you're providing a great experience for your user, and you want your users to come back. The more they run your game, the more they play, the more money you make with your ads. So don't make them mad, right? Make it very easy for them to enjoy your particular game, but at the same time earning revenue for yourself. So don't over advertise, and don't distract your users from their core tasks and goals, right? So just more common sense on that standpoint. And once again, there's more information available to you at the adsandapps.microsoft.com site. A couple things I wanted to point out before we close up here is don't forget to sign up for the app builder. This is a service that my team provides, where it's a great place for you to sign up to get access to different resources, as well as experts to help you with your game making or your app building. To reach out to somebody at Microsoft, some technical people, as well as some design assistants that you can get for free, as well as some technical support as well. So make sure you sign up at AppBuilder at aka.ms/app48, and that'll get you signed up with our App Builder service. And once you get signed up with our App Builder, we actually have a promotion that's running right now called Keep the Cash. This is a way for you to very easily make some money with your games very quickly. However, the runway's running short here. So basically, if you submit up to 10 Windows 8 games in the store, Windows Phone games within the Windows Phone store, you can actually go to the site at Keep the Cash, aka.ms/keepthecash, and you can earn $100 per app that you get into the store before June 30th. So a great way to earn a little bit extra cash, to maybe hopefully provide some sort of fun, some inspiration to get you to work on your games and get them submitted up into Windows 8 as well as Windows 4. So definitely check that out at Keep the Cash, aka.ms/keepthecash. And that about wraps it up. I'll leave you here with some resources. Once again, all the information you need is adsandapps.microsoft.com. Learn more about submitting apps to the Windows Store, windowsstore.com. Some links to the resources for the Ads and Apps SDK, support email address for working with the advertising, as well as reminders for you to take advantage of signing up for App Builder and the Keep the Cash promotion. So that does it for me. Once again, my name's Dave Bost. You can reach me on Twitter at Dave Bost, and go out there and build some great games, and I can't wait to see them. Take care and good luck.